Welcome back. It's the Truck Show podcast, recorded from the Pod Shed here in Huntington Beach, California. And as you know, I recently visited lovely Flagstaff, Arizona, and attended the 2026 Overland Expo West event, and it was as big and as awesome as ever. I mean, you could get lost walking around the place, seeing all the innovation, the gadgets, all the camping things you didn't know you needed. It was always a top-tier, first-class show. While I was there, as you know, we debuted the Jeep with the new American Adventure Lab Power Pack rack that featured the 105 amp-hour KC flat battery and a full complement of Red Arc battery management. And it was a huge hit. And I probably had to be over 100 people asking about the setup throughout the weekend. So it was really cool to have people really curious about what we're doing. And I can't wait to get out and enjoy it soon. I'm almost there. Unfortunately, while I was there, I did not get a ton of interviews because we were so busy launching the Off-Road Business Association, complete with our own ORBA lounge. So we had people coming in and out all weekend, and we had my red Jeep out front, so it was drawing people in as well. And as you might recall, the Off-Road Business Association was purchased by SEMA in the last half of 2025, and SEMA asked me to come on board and help get it off the ground. So in my new role as the executive director, I've been busy promoting ORBA and sharing our mission of advocating for motorized recreation on public lands and the small businesses in the off-road industry that support it. So since I've been so busy on ORBA, I figured it would probably be a good idea to have my legislative director, Laura Butcher, on the show so we could talk about what we've got going on, some of the policies we're tracking, the wins, etc. So we've got her on this episode. And speaking of wins, the Trump administration dropped a doozy on Friday night shortly after our interview last week. And he signed a new executive order rescinding executive orders 11644 and 11989, which is a significant step toward modernizing how federal agencies manage off-highway vehicle access and recreation on public lands. So here's our quick rundown of our ORBA press release. For nearly 50 years, these executive orders have shaped the regulatory framework used in federal route designation and travel management decisions across millions of acres of public land. Their rescission begins a process that could fundamentally reshape how agencies approach access, recreation, infrastructure, and multiple use management moving forward. While this executive order does not automatically reopen routes or overturn existing land use plans, it has the potential to influence future agency decision-making and rulemaking efforts, including the framework used in large-scale travel management and access planning initiatives across the West. Substantial work remains ahead through agency rulemaking and implementation, but today's announcement represents one of the most significant public lands and recreation policy development in decades. ORBA looks forward to continuing to engage throughout the process and advocate for responsible motorized recreation, access to public lands, and balanced multiple-use management for all Americans. So this is a huge one. And as you'll hear in the interview, we're working on much more. In fact, this is something that I think we kind of hinted at. We didn't know it was going to come so soon, but here it is. Outside of ORBA, I landed an interview with old friend Brent Hagan from Nissan, who was attending Overland Expo. They've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline, as we've been talking about. They released a new trim for the Frontier there, and they were checking out, well, the market of future Frontier owners, hopefully. Also ran across Truck Show podcast listener Jason Broom, who sought me out to hand-deliver a special gift, so we'll get into that as well. But before we get into it, let's thank the companies that make the Truck Show podcast possible. The Truck Show podcast is proudly brought to you in partnership with AMSOIL, the maker of the best synthetics and the same ones we use in our rigs. Did you know AMSOIL is more than just synthetic oil? They also make some of the finest lubricants, greases, additives, filters, car care products, and yes, even merch. We use AMSOIL products to protect our rigs, and you can do the same by heading to truckshowpodcast.com and using our special link under the featured product section. Do you need a knife? Then point your browser to kershaw.kiusa.com and explore their line of exceptional pocket knives. They have a huge selection of quality knives from EDCs and ones made in America, and yes, even automatics. Score one for yourself today. If you want to treat yourself to the latest in adventure, gear, and upgrades for your vehicle, go to OVRMag.com and use the code @TruckShowPodcast for a discount on print or access for a year to our digital library for free. Please help me to keep the Truck Show podcast free by supporting our sponsors or leaving reviews on Apple or Spotify. And don't forget to check the TruckShowPodcast.com website for the latest deals.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel, electricity, and on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your host, Holman.
Man, so much stuff going on. Lots to talk about. Got some good interviews coming up in upcoming episodes. But first, what do you say? Let's catch up with Brent Hagan from Nissan at Overland Expo West. All right, I'm here at Overland Expo West. It's one of my favorite events during the year, and happen to be with my good friend Brent Hagan from Nissan. And man, I have been wanting to talk to you for a while because we've been doing a lot of Nissan news, whether it's the Nissan comeback, the sales numbers, Frontier's holding its own in the midsize truck market with a lot of competition and a lot of pricing pressure. And then all of a sudden, Xterra's coming back. Xterra's going to be yellow. You've got the Pro R on, like all of a sudden, all this stuff's coming, and Nissan's back to realizing that their off-road heritage is really important to the go-forward plan, and it sounds like the new bosses recognize the performance and racing heritage that Nissan has had, and they want to reclaim that glory.
Yeah, man, I give a lot of credit to my bosses, Marco, Pons, Christian. They've come in and put full effort into investing in the products we have, giving us a runway to the next generation products, and as you can see, the enthusiasm, excitement about the return of the X is there, and so we're really, really excited about what we're doing. We've been a busy winter, a busy fall, and it's going to be a busy summer as well.
Well, it's funny when it was like, there'd be a dealer meeting, or there would be, some sort of Nissan looking forward plan me, and like all these little nuggets are getting dropped, and it's like, one of them was, yeah, it'll be yellow, and that's what the headlines were. Xterra to be yellow, right? I mean, people. That's an iconic color for the Xterra, right? And then the latest things that have come out is we're going to have a V6, and we're not going to force you into a Turbo 4 because people don't want Turbo 4s in this class. They want to have the displacement. And you look at, how good the powertrain is on the Frontier, and the 9-speed automatic is great. And you're like, why would you walk away from that? And it sounds like, obviously we're not going to talk about future products and things that aren't ready to be discussed yet, but from what I'm hearing and from what's out there, what's been said publicly, it sounds like if you're a Nissan enthusiast, you're going to be really excited about the next few years.
Hey, we're enthusiasts too, and I'm so blessed to get to work for guys.
Well, you have a Nissan Patrol.
I've got a Patrol.
And you got a V8 Pathfinder.
I got a V8 R51. Yeah. I've got a Titan. And our household, we bleed it. We live it, and we bleed it. We're enthusiasts ourselves. And so we hear it. I'm on social media. All those guys that post and say, I wish somebody at Nissan was listening. We're listening. I'm there. I'm seeing all those comments, and we care too. Sometimes it takes longer than we would like, right? Yeah. We'd love to be able to bring, snap our fingers and bring stuff to market tomorrow. That doesn't always work. But we've got the support of leadership of the company to turn this thing around, all the way up to the CEO, Ivan Espinosa, who's a truck and car guy himself. Who I personally know, and he's a great guy, and so they support all of it. So we're dribbling, we're giving these things out to let people know, these breadcrumbs. To
it's
let
real.
Them know it's real, and we hear you. And we're not going to come back with something that's going to totally alienate the legacy of the Xterra, or in name only.
And we talk about body and frame,
exactly.
A real four-wheel drive, real solid rear axle. A regular ICE drivetrain. Sounds like there's a hybrid in there as an option, but you're going to be able to get a V6 ICE powertrain in it. And they've talked about trying to hit that $40,000 mark, somewhere right in there. So it's going to be affordable, and it's like all the things Nissan's known for, and it's the value. It's still giving you the capability. Looks like the styling from the teasers on Xterra is pretty cool. But I know we're talking about Xterra, but Frontier's going to have a refresh at some point too. It's exciting to see. I'm curious, you mentioned that you want people to know you're listening. Without divulging anything, a question I have for you is kind of, what are the things that people want? Like, what have you seen? If somebody's listening going, I want these 5 things, you're like, yeah, I know what those 5 are. We heard you. Here's the things that we know you're asking about.
I mean, you just touched on a bunch of them, right? Yeah. An ICE powertrain, fully capable, a great value, something that's a great canvas. Pons, one of my bosses, has come out and said these next generation products will be a canvas. I mean, here we are at Overland Expo, and that's what this is all about.
By the way, more Frontiers than I've ever seen at the show this year.
Fantastic. And a ton of Xterras around Flagstaff. Yeah. We were pointing them out earlier. Yellow here, red there, all that. But the point is they need to be a canvas. We need to work with the aftermarket. We need to make it accessible for the aftermarket. We need to make it friendly for the aftermarket to upfit and use, and that's exactly what we're doing. So those aspects, those elements are what we're working very hard on with the next generation products.
Well, and it came out that Xterra might be package protected for 35s. You don't have to wink twice or cough or anything. but even if that's true, the fact that you guys are thinking of enthusiasts in that way with a bigger tire size, which it seems to be kind of the standard for legitimate off-road package anymore,
And again, the new Frontier has really held its own. It's usually in the second or third spot in sales. It's done really well, and you start seeing them everywhere. And I've had so many people come to me and tell me. I had a guy the other day from the podcast who emailed me that he bought a Frontier, and he goes, his message was most underrated truck on the market, and it was from him from the driver's seat. And it was one of those things like I never would have looked at it if you hadn't talked about it. And I'm like, no, it's a great truck, and the value's there, and it's just enough modern to be competitive, but it's not. It doesn't feel like it's overly tacky. Like you can just get in and drive it. It still feels like a traditional truck, and I think there's a lot of people who don't want to drive a computer. They still want to have that truck experience.
It's a driver's truck, and I can't tell you. This past week we had some amazing opportunities to go do some off-roading here. We went to Lee's Ferry Overlook and some different places. And people just got in and are able to drive. It's got all the capability that you need, but you're right, you're connected. It's an honest-to-goodness truck. It's got mechanical traction. It's a billy goat. It loves to climb hills, but it does so in comfort. It does so with durability and reliability. People forget about it. I can't tell you how many media people told me this week, they're like, I just forgot about this. I forgot how great of a truck it is. I forgot what a great value it is. I forgot how fun it is and how connected it feels. Like you said, I don't have all these electrical nanny cams that are interacting with me. We added, terrain management, and it just supplements the experience. One of the guys yesterday was driving. He was in rock mode, and he was like, I can just keep the pedal exactly where I want as I'm going over these rocks, and it's not jerking and stuff. And I said, yeah, that's the tuning that our Arizona test team put in there to make it where it reduces the pedal application so that you really feel rock solid going up rocks. You're not feeling
smooth.
jerky.
It's not jerky. Yeah, it smooths out your inputs, and that's new for 26. That was one of the little minor tweaks.
But it's just the right amount of tech without so much that's intrusive that takes away from the experience. And that's what's great about the Frontier, and that's the DNA that we're going to inject in the next generation product as well.
So talk to me about the new trim level that just got released and announced on, I guess it's the Sport?
Yeah, 27 model year Sport Edition. Kind of takes a lot of the success that we had with Dark Armor. So it's on the SV grade. It's a great value. It's a great price point and entry. It takes a lot of the components, the ideas of Dark Armor, but it pushes it up in the off-road department. We've got skid plates, fog lights, we've got all-terrain tires, and then it bumps it up a little bit in the personality department. So instead of just black everything, it gives you that touch of what we're calling like a lime yellow type color, kind of like the Citrus Strike, which is a new color for 26. It takes those elements and puts it in the stitching on the bedside decals.
The grab handles got them.
Yeah, it's not going to be for everybody. We recognize that. Yeah. It's going to be those that want a little more bold touch, a little more youthful touch. And for those that are like, you know what, lime yellow is not my thing, great. Dark Armor's right there beside it. Yeah. But it's a great canvas. It looks great. It's a little more polished, a little more youthful, a little more sporty, but with all the off-road chops.
So you leave today. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to stay the whole weekend. What's next for Brett Hagen when you go back to the office? What are we working on?
We're going back in the lab. We have a ton of stuff that's working on the remaining life of Frontier and Armada. We've got a lot that we're working on there, and then obviously back in the lab work on the next generation products. There's no rest for the weary. We're working around the clock tirelessly to bring it to market, those things to market as quickly as possible, and to listen to what customers are asking for. So if you have things that you want Nissan to listen to, get on the forums and post it, talk about it. We're listening and we're watching.
Or send it to truckshowpodcast at gmail.com, and I will forward it to the people at Nissan directly who need to hear about it. I'll end with a couple things. One is the Armada is phenomenal. Every time I get in one of those things, I'm blown away with the comfort, the driving, how just everything about it. I've been so impressed with where it sits in the
I'm
full-size
partial,
market.
but it's the best seats in the business. I'll put it against anybody's.
It's a great road trip machine. Absolutely, like it would be in my top 5 of something I would want to drive cross country. The other thing is, I have a friend whose son's getting ready to drive, and you cannot in Southern California find an off-road Xterra with decent miles at a decent price. And I always tell people, I said, if you're looking for a 4Runner and you think those are expensive, go try and find an off-road Xterra.
For sure.
They're coveted because not as many of them were sold, so not as many of them are out there. And people who have those things love those things. And the buzz about it coming back is crazy. And I've seen so many Xterras where they have Titan swaps and things like that on them. And it's mind-blowing when you look at the pricing and the rarity of that particular model, especially with a stick. I mean, there's like unicorns.
I'll add to that. We're here at Overland Expo Rest, right? Van life's a big deal.
Yeah.
Go try to find you a low miles NV for a reasonable price. Those
the
NV vans, both passenger and cargo vans, they're a fantastic template. Tried and true VK56.
Yep.
the durability, all those parts that we have with Titan XD. It's a durable truck. It's a great platform. They run 350,000 miles, no problem. Don't break a sweat. Both the Xterra, those NVs, they are hard to find.
Isn't that crazy that Nissan, it makes great products, but it's sort of like has been, the second fiddle to being thought about for purchase consideration, and now you guys are elevating that and bringing people where they think about Nissan first. Because what happens is Nissan is, like the owners who know, it's the secondary market, and it's really hard to get a really low mileage Nissan because not as many were sold. And people, once they get into one and experience, they go, "Why didn't I buy this from the beginning?
Yeah.
This vehicle's not available anymore. This thing's perfect for my needs." And it's exciting for me, being somebody who loves the Nissan product, to see people being excited about the brand and thinking about them first, rather than going, "Oh, to your point, the media, I didn't even think about the Frontier." And I get a lot of people, I'm like, "Go drive the Frontier." I've sold a lot of them just from, say, go have a test drive.
Listen, we appreciate partnering with you, all the work that you do to get the word out. I mean, I cannot tell you how many people have mentioned it to me. He's like, I listen to Truck Show podcast, and I went out and looked at a Frontier. I went out and looked at a Pathfinder. I went out and looked at an Armada just because of that. So we thank you for the partnership, getting the word out, because that's a big part of it. Honestly, I mean, we can make great products, great value. The R&D team does a fantastic job. Manufacturing team in Canton, Mississippi, and other elsewhere does a fantastic job putting them together. We just need to get the word out more, and that's we appreciate your help with it.
Absolutely. So if you want a quality built, value-oriented off-road product, go check out Nissan, and you guys have lots. We'll be talking in the coming year or two, I'm sure, because there's a lot of stuff that's left on the table that we can't talk about today, but it's on the way.
I can't wait. Thank you, Sean.
Always great to catch up with my friend Brent. He's definitely one of my favorites, and hopefully we'll get to hang out again real soon. And next up, longtime listener, supporter of the podcast and fan, Jason Broom.
So here I am sitting in the ORBA booth, and who walks by none other than listener Jason Broom, who dedicated and purchased the Dr. Pepper fridge for the podcast. Got Mike here as well, and Jason went to Japan recently and brought me back the world's best gift, I think. Well, it was the most thoughtful gift. I haven't had it yet, so I don't know if it is the best gift, but he brought me all the way from Japan a Japanese Dr. Pepper, which is fascinating because it's a can of Japanese Dr. Pepper, which he clearly smuggled in his luggage to make it back to America, only has 20 flavors. And so I want to know what flavors are missing. I'm fascinated. So if any of you are super good at Googling, I just want to find out if any of you know why Japanese Dr. Pepper only has 20 flavors.
And I think that the listeners at home should use Google and do some manual searching. No cheating and no using Claude or Gemini. You have to actually do the manual research.
And then you have to email the results to truckshowpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'll be looking out for the email, and maybe we can get some more Japanese Dr. Pepper sent over. I know a few people over there now, so we could get a couple more sent over, and you and Nick can redo the taste test.
Well, Nick did come over. He did have a sip of his warm. Mine's in the cooler because I wanted to have it done properly. And what's on the side of my Jeep, guys? What is that thing that you put there?
Oh, yeah. Since you broke your last Jeep, unfortunately, and we gave you that...
More than broke.
We gave you the Whittle Wadder in Moab.
The 3D printed Whittle Wadder.
And then you did a high-speed barrel roll. And I think the Whittle Wadder flew off somewhere in Utah, so we printed you a new...
In red?
Whittle, yes, to match the Jeep.
Very nice. I think the Whittle Wadder, the black one, is actually on my toolbox in my garage.
Yeah, that's firecracker red filament.
I mean, you can't even see it on the Jeep. It's such a great color match.
It actually keeps your fuel secure with gas prices going up, so...
Are you going to let Jason talk this whole time?
Jason only speaks all the time. So, yes, he gets to speak all the way through. And since I'm in the witness protection program, I'm trying to keep my voice as much off the radio as possible.
We'll be sure to voice change that for you. All right, what are you guys doing today? You apparently have snuck in here as media, but then you have your Tag Overland. And so explain to the audience what Tag Overland is.
So Tag Overland is two aristocrats go overlanding. And aristocrats originally was a different word.
But now you've commandeered it for your own purposes?
Yeah, well, the word aristocrat originally wasn't there. It was to something else, go overlanding, and we felt like that was probably not social media friendly. So we changed it to aristocrats, and now we are...
Was it Aristoholes?
Yeah, Aristoholes, right? And we are the overlanding community's biggest, smallest content creation channel.
All right.
So we have a whopping 168 followers on YouTube, so we're getting huge. And then,
so guys, if you're listening, go follow the two aristocrats go overlanding on the Tag Overland channel and support them. They are fellow podcast listeners just like you.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Sean. We appreciate it.
Thanks for the Dr. Pepper. I will let you know if I get worms or poisoned by it or anything like that. I mean, I think it's pretty good because it's in a can. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I love sushi.
Mick described it as brown, so I don't know what brown
Well, he said it tastes like Dr. Thunder, so that doesn't... that doesn't make me have high hopes for it.
You said brown.
I said brown. It tastes brown.
Yeah.
I did have a sip of Nick's, but again, it was warm. It's like Guinness. I don't...
Yeah, there was some spit swapped.
Yeah, it was gross. So mine is in my Dometic CFX 545 fridge, and sometime in the future, when it's nice and icy cold, I will partake.
You'll have to mic it up for the Truck Show podcast when you crack it open.
You know what? I'll do that.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Good to see you, Sean. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Jason, for the Japanese Dr. Pepper. It was a real treat, and it was much better after I left it in the fridge for a while and it got real cold. All right, and our final interview is with my colleague Laura Butcher, Legislative Director of ORBA. All right, so as you guys know, I was at Overland Expo a little bit for the podcast, but mostly for the Off-Road Business Association, which is my new daytime job at SEMA. So they hired me to help them get that off the ground. So I guess technically I'm now the executive director, and my legislation director, Laura Butcher, who has her own pedigree and provenance here in the off-road space, is joining us. But before we let her talk, she gets a jingle.
Yo, the Truck Show! Who dis? Who dis? Who the hell is this? A Truck Show interview you don't want to miss. We talk to top dogs in the industry. How'd you blow up? How'd you come to be? Who dis? Who dis? Truck Show represent.
Welcome to the show, Laura Butcher, who this is your first time on this podcast. Normally you just see me on Zoom and the most terrible, horrible program ever invented, Microsoft Teams.
You are a big fan of Teams. Yes, I do talk to you, I would say, just about daily now.
Yeah, well, multiple times a day. And I was like, listen, I can't just talk about ORBA on my own. You're sort of my co-dog in this. And so I was like, just come on the podcast. We'll do an interview. We were in Flagstaff together, basically, and talking about ORBA. And we did talks. You and Karen, our boss, did the Women Who Wander. We went to the OVR. They had like a campsite chat with Hankook Tire. We had our own little lounge area. We were out evangelizing, all that good stuff. So I figured, you know what? We might as well have you come on. And so a little bit about how this started was SEMA reached out to me and said, hey, we've got this idea. We're doing this thing. We'd like you to be a part of it. And I was like, actually, Spags, Mike Spagnola, the president of SEMA, called me. I was still in the hospital. I was like, this is too much. But anyway, we got to this point. And then when I came on, I kind of helped them through the end of last year. And they said, hey, we'd like you to take this over and run with it. And I said, I need somebody who's strong on the legislative side because it's a big part of what we do. And there's just too much. And they said, we have the perfect person. And you and I have sort of orbited in the same space for a long time. We know the same people. We've run into each other before. We were Facebook friends. And then all of a sudden now we're like work buddies.
Group therapy on the daily.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that we had not directly interacted before now, but at the same time, it, at least in my opinion, it feels pretty natural. Like we jive together super well, and it didn't take long for that to happen.
Yeah, no, it turns out that when you're, what do they say? When you hate the same things, you bond faster or something like that. Now, I'm not saying we hate the same things. I'm just saying that's like trauma bonding. But
exactly.
When you're handed an organization that is basically being rebuilt from the ground up, somebody hands you the keys and they're like, we need you guys to be successful with this and we'll support that. And you're like, okay, but you sort of don't know what you don't know. Like we're still learning like simple things like how does our email work within SEMA? Who does what? Like what can we do? And I mean, we've been told no a few times, but for the most part, we don't know what we can't do. So we keep just pushing the boundaries and it's been fun being able to do that. And,
I think it's working pretty well, and they're giving us a lot of freedom, and so it makes it really fun and interesting. And I don't know, we're putting the plane together as we're flying it.
Exactly, we're building the plane as we fly. That's perfect. So they have given us a ton of rope, and they've basically said, hey, you guys, this is your baby. And it's almost like sometimes you're kind of like, can we do that? And so it's taken a little while to kind of figure out all the pieces and stuff, but I know you're super excited about ORBA as well as I am. Maybe just give a little background of what you do outside of ORBA, sort of who you are, because then people will go, oh, like she's totally legit.
Like, oh, that makes sense. Also, why are you doing so many jobs all at the same time?
Because you have the same problem I have and you can't say no.
Right. So yeah, for like anybody that doesn't already know me, the background context there is that I accidentally inherited a race series that I'd kind of grown up with and volunteered within for a long time, Valley Off-Road Racing Association, also known as VORA. It's been around since 1975, and like I said, I grew up with the series, as did my husband. We raced it, volunteered, all the things, thought we like knew how to run races. And so when Dave Cole gave me the opportunity, we took it, and it's been like another just learning experience, but it's worked out so well in so many ways. So that's kind of what transitioned off-road from just a really great hobby to like a full-time career for me. I've also kind of in the mix of that same initial time frame, I did the Rebel Rally twice, and I worked for Tread Lightly as a program manager for 4 years. I am on the board of directors for a couple of different organizations and currently do contract work for Nevada Off-Road Association as well, which does a lot of similar work like we're currently doing for ORBA, but only within the state of Nevada. So that was kind of a good warm up. I also have another nonprofit that I'm using to build a multi-use motorsports park. What else am I forgetting? I'm sure there's other things. I do a lot of like sponsorship marketing type stuff. I usually only take like one or two clients at a time, but I definitely have had some cool experiences there. Got to be on Stone Cold Steve Austin's TV show on A&E a few years ago, and then that led into working with him really closely. So it's been kind of an interesting journey. This last year, I also contracted with King of the Hammers and did all of their like BLM permits and their DOD permits and things like that. So yeah,
you do all the boring stuff that lets the rest of us have fun, essentially.
I don't know that I'd see it for me. It's not boring because there's like weird challenges.
There are weird challenges. That's totally true.
I'm just like, okay, I get to dig it in. Cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about ORBA. So it's the Off-Road Business Association. So the way I usually tell people, and you can correct me if you disagree, but essentially, SEMA is sort of known for hot rods, and on the truck side, everybody thinks like Florida Brodozer, which is fine. But there's a lot of off-road companies that felt like SEMA didn't have as much investment in them or didn't care as much, or however you want to put that. But the reality is SEMA's put tens of millions of dollars behind off-road. They didn't really have a mechanism to promote that, like PRI side could do with hot rodding and things like that. So they said, hey, we're going to buy this organization, Off-Road Business Association. It's going to be our mechanism for interacting with the off-road world and making sure that we can evangelize and show people all the things that we're doing within this space. And ORBA is essentially kind of a twofold deal. One of it is land use, advocacy, helping legislators with information so they can make good public policy around motorized recreation. And the other side is supporting small business, which is in the off-road space. And that's sort of what ORBA is within SEMA.
I actually had no idea how much SEMA was doing behind the scenes. I knew they were involved. I didn't understand how involved they were, how much of the financial impact they've had on some of the larger lawsuits that the off-road community has taken wins for. They were really like heavy hitters behind the scenes. And I think one of the things that I want to help ORBA do is show people just how invested SEMA is. For me, it's not about just recreation. It's not just about access. It's not just small business. It's not just manufacturing. It's all of those things. And it's protecting a lifestyle and an industry that supports communities all across the country. So I think we just get a really cool opportunity to highlight how much SEMA has done and how much they are currently doing in that space.
Yeah, when ORBA was around, as a private entity, I think SEMA was their biggest donor. SEMA's been involved with there's some entities out there kind of behind the scenes that are I don't know if you would call it like a legal fund or a legal partnership where we have lawyers who go out and then do kind of sort of the either the suing or the answering or whatever. But there's a bunch of groups that put into that bucket so that these lawyers can go out and advocate for us or go to task on the legal side. So if there's a land closure and we have to, go in to get it opened up, like this group goes in. Well, SEMA was a massive donor to that too. So there's a whole lot that SEMA's been doing and using their resources for that the average person doesn't have any idea. So that's what you and I are hoping to do with ORBA, is to promote that and let people know that no, SEMA is totally involved. SEMA sees off-road as a growth area, and SEMA wants people to know, rather than being sort of the silent giant behind the scenes, SEMA wants to be seen as a big player in the space.
Right. I agree. I think that as much as I loved my advocacy time, like at Tread Lightly, and how important that work is, I love that this is a more aggressive form of advocacy. And that's probably what I'm most passionate about, especially on the government affairs side. It's just so darn cool, the stuff that SEMA does and that they're letting me do now. I wish I could talk about more of it up front, but I have a feeling people will be really excited to see all the things we're working on soon.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that are happening, I would say, that are going to be noteworthy in the next 6 to 8 weeks, maybe like that soon. And then there's stuff on the horizon that might be 6 months or a year out. But in the very short time, I mean, it's been a few months since we kind of have tackled this. We've gone obviously to Overland Expo, which is sort of, was the hard launch. I went to Easter Jeep Safari, which was sort of our soft launch. You and I went to Washington, D.C. as part of the SEMA rally and met with legislators, but we had this amazing meeting with the Department of Interior, with the Bureau of Land Management, which had some great things come out of that. And then we've had meetings with 29 Palms, with the Marine base there, and are building new relationships with them, with the team that handles land use and their temporary closures of Johnson Valley for the shared or multi-use area. And I'm going back and I'm like, man, that's a lot of stuff for a couple months. I mean, we have been on the gas. That doesn't even account for the time we spent doing the WeMo stuff in the Western Mojave with that closure. And then there's ongoing SEMA things like Gemini Bridges and Moab. We're working on economic impact study areas, which ones we're going to attack there. I mean, when you look back at the last 2 to 3 months, like, what do you think?
Freaking wild.
Yeah,
It's
right?
wild. It's like some of this stuff, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm such a nerd right now. It's like a dream come true. Getting to go to Washington, D.C. and go on Capitol Hill and participate in those meetings, but also lead some of those
Yeah.
meetings. Like, that's insane in the coolest way possible. I feel so fortunate to get this opportunity.
Yeah, we were, for me, it's cool. We went on a Capitol Hill. You meet with lawmakers, you meet with their staffs. All that stuff is really cool, but they turn over fairly regularly. We got to go inside the Department of Interior, which has career employees, and walk out of there with a handshake deal that hopefully we'll be able to talk more about in the future, with some really important things that are meaningful to the industry. Like, I walked out of that meeting, and I mean, you and I were pumped because it was like, this isn't at all what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, they were like, we want to do this stuff with you. And we're like, well, here's an idea. They're like, yeah, okay, It was amazing to be in DC with the decision makers and then be seen as experts to help guide the policy decisions and inform them of sort of the needs of the people that we advocate for. I mean, that was incredible. Being at Easter Jeep Safari and just talking to people and Overland Expo and having them say, this ORBA thing sounds really cool. How can we get involved? I mean, it just seems like the excitement for it and the excitement for SEMA to be, I'll say, visibly in the off-road space versus invisibly in the off-road space has been really off the charts.
I agree. I think that people are really excited, as they should be, honestly. Like, once they get a handle on some of the stuff we're doing, they're going to be all the more excited. But everybody seems like really ready for this. This move feels natural. It feels like something people want. It's just going to be so impactful. And I think it's going to help so many people, whether it's with jobs or tourism, manufacturing, just like the love of all things off-road and outdoor recreation. This is going to be incredible.
Well, you bring up tourism, and that's one of those things that I like to talk about because I think when you meet with policymakers, they think sometimes the ideology of shutting down an area, and they go, "Oh, we're shutting down. It's just people ripping off road, and nobody can go in there. It's a natural resource, and humans will just ruin it." And you're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa."
Right.
Well, it's public land, number one. Number two, people have the right to recreate, and here is us coming in potentially with an economic impact report and saying, listen, yeah, you can shut it down, but did you realize this affects tourism? It affects these jobs. The people that are recreating their off-road, they go to the gas station, they go to the market, they go to the restaurants, they go to the hotels. And it almost feels like they don't always look at it in that lens where they see sort of the collateral damage. And they think of off-road recreation as its independent pillar versus being a part of tourism or something like that. And so I feel like those are those meaningful conversations where they go, oh, we hadn't looked at it that way, or do you have data to support that? And then with the backing of SEMA, we come in and say, here's the information that you need to make good sound decisions.
Right. As somebody from a very small, very rural town in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, I mean, those are things that are incredibly important and have been some of the biggest eye openers since I started working in this space. I did an economic impact study on one of my own Vora races a few years ago because we were having trouble with a BLM permit, and I was trying to make that very point. And time again, I hear from local businesses, not just from my own hometown, but other small towns that we race in those areas. We're the reason they're not going bankrupt. We're literally keeping them afloat. And that just hits such a heartfelt chord for me. I mean, if there wasn't a million other reasons to do this work, that's it. And I'll argue all day long that, the town I'm from, mining is great. It comes and it goes, it fluctuates. Off-road is like such a really great, steady economic source that is largely untapped at this point, and it just needs to be harnessed and refined. And I think it can provide so much valuable support to those communities that are really in need.
Yeah, I look at some of the things that we're involved in. Again, the land management side of it. So working with the land managers and stakeholders, and we work on local, state, federal levels. And we want to be out there protecting cultural resources and the environment. I would argue to people, I can't remember what meeting we were in, but they were talking about, conservationists versus off-roaders. And I said, no, we're conservationists as well. We want to get out of the city. We want to have clean air. We want to have clean water. And by the way, we're on flotation tires that aren't digging into the earth. And we are using solar panels when we're camping. We're not even running our engines. And we're leaving the campsite cleaner than when we got there. We're just as much of a conservationist as you are. And they were like, well, we hadn't really thought of it that way. And then you look at the urbanization of America and how they want more and more dense urban centers. Well, there's a mental health component to being able to get away from the city, unwind, recreate. That I think is also that thought process starting to get a little bit of traction where people listen to you and you say, listen, it's a mental health benefit for this as well. So it has a positive impact on the economics of an area, on the medical health of an area, of the ability for families to have these experiences together. We're working on something right now, part of SEMA, to open up areas that are prohibited for mechanized travel, which excludes disabled veterans or disabled constituents, because they're in a wheelchair, can't go there. You can only hike or something like that, right? Like it's a mechanized thing. They're like, oh, sorry, you're out. Well, that's not fair. So we're trying to get things like that. I mean, there's so many things that we're fighting for, and the battles are constant of really common sense approaches to land use.
Absolutely. It's all about common sense, really. I mean, how often do you see anybody that's an outdoor recreationalist, whether it's a hunter, hiker, or an off-roader? They're not the ones who wants to be out there with a bunch of trash.
Yeah.
And I'll argue all day long that structured events like racing provide a ton of benefits to the communities as well as those public lands that they utilize. all of that extra cleanup work, all of the safety precautions that go into it. They're giving people a purpose. I mean, it really channels people's energy into those events, and it leads to a lot less nefarious activity elsewhere, in my opinion.
For sure. And of course, the legislative part of it that we touched on, environmental protection, which we touched on, and also just having great relationships with law enforcement out there or longstanding partnerships with other off-road stakeholders. You mentioned Tread Lightly. There's other groups. In California, we have Cal 4-Wheel and Corva. Other groups that are grassroots, nonprofits that you can join. I guess if you look at it, the land use side of it, it's not the sexiest part for most people of the industry. And it's easy for you to kind of think like, oh, somebody else will take care of that. And if you scroll down your Instagram, you see like different groups talking about different things. What we want to do is get everybody together and kind of prioritize the messaging. And even though we're independent organizations, we really want to like band together and be more collaborative so that we're working and putting our resources toward the same goals so that we can have positive outcomes. So there's a lot that goes into this job. I think it's really interesting just because from a journalism standpoint, I've been able to use those relationships and use my skill sets completely differently than I have before. And every day, it's almost like having a completely new career all of a sudden, and I'm still figuring it all out, right? Like I'm sure there's people going, why is this guy here?
Probably for both of us. I mean, it just sort of, to me, it's just the fact that like people are like onions. We all have so many layers and things that you didn't know about somebody before. Just because you know them in one capacity doesn't mean that there's not another aspect to them somewhere in there. So yeah, I think that we're gonna do so much good work, and I hope people want to keep hearing about it. I would like to continue. Maybe we should make this a semi-regular thing.
Honestly, we could have ORBA updates. In fact, if you guys are interested in ORBA updates, you can go to offroadbusiness.org or orba.biz. We've got a ORBA news page, and so that page has the latest things that we're working on or the latest news. And you can also find us on Instagram as well, and it's Off-Road Business Association on Instagram. So the things that are being posted on our news will also get socialized out. So please give us a follow on Instagram. And then if you're interested in joining, especially if you're a company, we've got a number of membership levels, and I'll just run through them really quick. So general membership for anybody or a business starts at $250 and basically gives you the monthly newsletter, calls to action. Then you can step up to a bronze membership, which is a $1,000 annual contribution. You get your business gets a public acknowledgement on the website, and of course, acknowledgement in newsletters. You step up to silver, which is $3,000. You get 3 sponsored posts on ORBA, SEMA SAN, or newsletters, acknowledgement in the monthly newsletters, public acknowledgement on the website. Gold steps up. That's a $5,000 annual contribution. You get the public acknowledgement on website and events, acknowledgement in monthly newsletters, 6 sponsored posts. You also have an optional advisory council membership. That's a yearly term. And the thing that I'm really excited about this is 10 consumer research questions via SEMA's research platform called Occam. And so, like, if you're a small business and you are in product development, for example, and you're like, I need to know how many white F-150s get modified in this time range or something like that, you may not have access to the data. You may have to hire a market research firm, and maybe it costs you $5,000 to have them go out or more to just give you the data that you're looking for. Well, your membership comes with that, and you get 10 individual questions a year at the gold membership level. So for businesses who have market research needs, that might be good because you get the membership, plus you get access to the marketing tools. And then our top membership, platinum, public acknowledgement in the newsletters, 10 sponsored posts a year, 1 optional advisory council membership position, you get 20 research questions. So, I mean, it's a pretty great deal, especially if you have needs at the higher levels to access marketing and whatnot. So, if you're curious about joining or you want to know more, go to the website, again, offroadbusiness.org. You can go to our ORBA member drop-down. You can see the membership levels and support ORBA. You can actually join through the website by doing just a regular digital buy on the website, and then that alerts Laura and I that you want in, and we'll send you a really nice letter that we drafted saying welcome to the support of these great causes in the off-road space.
I draft it and then Sean edits.
And then she edits it back. So it works out really well. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. I think if we made this a regular thing, it would be good just from the standpoint of letting people know like how much stuff is going on that they don't necessarily see or hearing it directly from us.
I think that's super important. And I just want people to know that I'm checking the Federal Register like every day, and you'll see that we post like on our social media pages, and it links back to our website updates on different things. And I hope people realize that we're trying to give them the most holistic, balanced, informative, fact only
Yeah.
kind of rundown of each situation, and let them know like realistically how massive is this situation? Is it on fire? Is this like a true dumpster fire, or
Yeah.
are
Or is
we
it
good
just
right now?
yeah, or is somebody just walking around with matches and they haven't lit anything yet, but you need to be aware of it.
We'll let you know, like, hey, we're good. This isn't a huge deal right now. We're gonna keep our eye on it, and we'll keep you posted. Or like, hey, we need you to act now. So that's I want people to pay attention.
So if I asked you, give me 5 or so of the top things that are important right now. Like what are 5 things that we're working on that the listeners should know about? What are the 5 that you would say, hey, pay attention to these things?
Okay. I knew this kind of a question would
this is
come.
my
I
gotcha.
knew it. So I would say, WeMo is a huge one. That's the Western Mojave. And I'm sure you've probably talked about that on your stuff before.
We dabbled in it a little bit. It's basically that area up by Randsburg, south of Ridgecrest and China Lake. Basically Cal City, kind of that whole area, Grass Valley, where a judge has, due to what we feel is flawed science or certain things that were used in the lawsuit, shut down 2,200 miles of trails. And so my understanding on that is the DOI, the Department of the Interior, is the only group that has standing to be able to fight that. And so they have filed their motion that allows them to reserve the right to file against that, right? Is that where we're at on it?
Yes. So we have
the appeal. That's what I was thinking of. Is they filed their motion that allows them or preserves their right to an appeal. And I think they're studying everything right now to see what their next steps are. But at least they filed that. And it's not like our group or anybody else could just jump in and file a lawsuit on it. We don't have standing for the way this went out. Now, for those of you who aren't in California, you think, I don't really care. The reality is you don't want the precedent set, legally for one judge to just unilaterally shut down all this miles of trails, because it can happen in other places too.
Right. Absolutely. It's just sort of the beginning of whatever bleeds over into the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there. And I mean, yeah, so WeMo, I would say, is pretty high priority at the top of our list, and it has been on SEMA's list for quite some time. Again, people just don't realize how involved they have been. But in addition to that, we've got Explore Act implementation, and just monitoring BLM as they roll out their new special recreation permit management, and how that kind of reform comes out and what they decide to use as approaches to support responsible outdoor recreation and kind of those structured events. Public lands access and multiple use. We've got a lot going on there, a lot of traction on that idea of making sure that lands are open unless there's a really specific reason that they need to be closed.
Now, this is the one where right now you could have an area closed and there may or may not be signage for it. So if you're not from the area, your map's not up to date, you might be a family out of town recreating and you cross over into this closed area or past this closed boundary, may not know it. And now all of a sudden you're essentially a criminal, like you're criminalizing somebody who wasn't aware. The new proposal is that if something is closed, it has to be signed that it's closed or it's otherwise open. So
yeah, I mean, that just seems logical, fair.
Yeah, right. It's just a common sense way of being like, hey, if it's closed, then put the effort into letting people know it's closed, rather than just saying this swath of land is off limits. Oh, but this perfectly fine road that went through it with nothing across it, that's welcoming me.
Yeah. And I get that, like, you will always hear BLM talk about being like BLM Forest Service, and they're not wrong. They are understaffed and underfunded, which is where I always advise them to like lean into these types of partnerships. Yeah. That's why we've got these other groups such as ourselves, but also the Tread Lightly's and the Corvas, and just they need to really like hone those relationships and lean into their partners. That's what we're here for. So I would say beyond those things, one of the other ones that's like pretty near and dear to everybody's hearts, I would say, is the Outdoor Americans with Disabilities Act. And that's really where, like, I feel like, especially we've talked about this a bunch, veterans, right? Like,
Yep.
it's anybody that has a disability. It could be, a 9-year-old that was born with terrible scoliosis, but it could also be a disabled veteran. And this is something that is so important because outdoor recreation is therapy, adrenaline therapy for racing. I mean, there's 9 million different ways that you can skin the cat on that, but it is really important. And I think people need to understand that there's a lot of different things that entails and how that might look.
And I think, again, having Americans with disabilities being able to recreate and not to have some, onerous rule that says, oh, if you're in a motorized wheelchair, because it's motorized, you can't go in this area, but that person who has the ability to walk can. It's just not right. It's not fair. And I think was a massive blind spot when those rules were put into place. And it's one of the things that a lot of us are working on to try and fix and make sure that we can open up recreation. We want recreation to be opened up to as many people as possible. We don't want it to be like, oh, you can only do it if you're on a bicycle, or you can only do it if you're in a trophy truck. No, ORBA, we stand for motorized recreation, whether that's a motorcycle or a side-by-side, power sports, whether it's snowmobile, whether it's a overlanding Tacoma or a Jeep or a rock crawler or whatever. If it's motorized and you want to get out there, we want to help you do that.
And it's so important for people to have the ability to do that because not everybody has the same abilities. So let's keep it fair and keep things accessible for everybody.
Well, I'll have to have you come back on when you have some more information for us. And I say you, meaning us, but since I'm the host, I'm just going to say you.
That's fair.
Again, if you guys want to find out more, offroadbusiness.org, you can contact us through the form. You can follow us on Instagram. Again, that one is at Off-Road Business Association. So there's two. There's an older one. This is the one with the fancy new logo we came up with, and it's just a lot nicer. When you open up that page, you'll see Karen, myself, and Laura at the top of the pinned one. So anyway, it's the one that's at Off-Road Business Association. And if you guys have questions on the podcast that you want us to answer, or I could pass along to Laura, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. You can always send us stuff, and happy to talk about on the air. And Laura, I would say it was great seeing you, and you should come back real soon, but I'm sure I'll be seeing you on another Zoom or Microsoft Teams call here very shortly.
I can't wait to see your next tricky way of having something in the background that says, I hate Teams.
Can we talk about that? Is that something?
Great.
All right. So long story short, I hate Teams.
Redheaded stepchildren. We don't have real logins.
We don't have real logins yet. And so Teams always gives us 10 steps, and you have to do it's 8 letters that are smashed together that you have to say. Oh, now it's only
I just
2.
start that process 15 minutes before a meeting because it's going to take me 5 tries.
Teams needs an update right now. Oh, Teams doesn't show you all the people because you're from out of the organization. Just all those things. So I might have started getting sneaky by hiding I hate Teams in my background, and I didn't get in trouble for it.
Where's Waldo?
Yeah, people were laughing, and I decided that, maybe I was being a little bit too irreverent about it. So I put it on the bottom of my Dr. Pepper can, I hate Teams, and somebody had asked me about my hate of Teams, and I took a swig from my Dr. Pepper, and you could see on the camera I hate Teams. So we all got a good laugh out of it. I think Laura and I are adding a levity to these meetings that didn't exist before. They're also serious.
A level of silliness. We bring a lot of banter.
That's right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, and we'll have you back. I know there's a lot more to talk about, but this is probably a good start for everybody going, wait, well, you guys are doing what? So if you email me and I don't get back to you, now you know why.
You're getting the Cliff Notes version of it. I think that's probably the easiest way for people to digest everything, but certainly they can ask if they have questions.
Yeah, we'll come back more hardcore next time, but this is a good start.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I'll see you on Zoom in a few minutes. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Truck Show Podcast. Send me your thoughts by emailing the show, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com, or giving us a follow on social at Truck Show Podcast or at Sean P. Holman.
The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show, oh, oh.
And if you've got a question, a concern, a topic, anything, and you want to be on the show, leave us a message on the 5-star hotline, 657-205-6105. And also, if you're on Facebook, join the Podshed Insiders. Why not? Great group of people, and they're always talking trucks. All right, we got to thank our sponsors for making the Truck Show podcast possible. AMSOIL.com for those of you who love your vehicles and want the best synthetics, oil change kits, car care products, etc. And of course, you can use our link if you go to truckshowpodcast.com under featured products, and that'll give us credit for the show. So would really appreciate that if you're going to be buying AMSOIL products anyway. Also, awesome knives at a great price. Kershaw, you can find them at kershaw.kaiusa.com. And if you're looking for the best in high-quality adventure, gear, lifestyle, vehicle reviews, all that's only found in the pages of OVR Magazine. Get free access to our digital library or a discount on print by heading to OVRmag.com and using the code @TruckShowPodcast. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, found it informative and entertaining, and I look forward to doing it again real soon.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis, hosted by Sean Holman, and uses production elements by DJ Omar Khan and Jay Tillis. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and leave us a 5-star review. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to support the show than by sharing it and patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.
I said good day.